Christmas celebrations of any imagery representing the real reason for the Christmas season. This is SRN News. If you're a dog owner, listen up.
Veterinary laboratories in several states are investigating an unusual respiratory illness in dogs. Oregon, Colorado, and New Hampshire are among the states that have seen cases of the illness. It does not respond to antibiotics. Symptoms include coughing, sneezing, nasal or eye discharge, and lethargy. Veterinarians are encouraging pet owners to basic precautions like not having as much contact with other dogs and making sure the pets are up to date on their vaccinations. Labs across the country have been sharing their findings as they try to pinpoint the culprit. Keith Peters reporting.
Amazon is cutting hundreds of jobs in the unit that handles its popular voice assistant Alexa as it plows more resources into artificial intelligence. In a note to employees, an Amazon executive wrote that the company is ditching some initiatives within the Alexa division. More of these stories at srnnews.com.
The following program is sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Get ready with your legal questions and call Patrick now. 877-943-9673. Again, that's 877-943-9673. The law office is open. And now your host, Patrick Smith.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, and we are with you live this Saturday, November 18th. The law office is open, so give us a call now. We're happy to help any way that we can with your legal questions. 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. So this week you've had legal issues pop up and you said, I really could use the advice of a licensed Florida attorney. Well, your prayers have been answered. Give us a call now. Open phone lines, 877-943-9673. That's your toll-free studio line. Usual gang together. Peter, the intern in studio, Yumiko, the producer, and our new member of our Attorney Patrick Smith Show team, Ryan, will be screening your calls today. So when you call Ryan, make sure to say welcome aboard and welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show family, Ryan. 877-943-9673. That is your live and local number to be part of the show, 877-943-9673. You can always email me directly, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. Lots of people asking throughout the week, where can I listen to prior broadcasts? You can always go to the website, attorneypatricksmith.com, go down to the radio link, and then all of our prior radio show broadcasts are there for you to listen to on demand at your leisure. But to talk to us today, 877-943-9673. This will be our Thanksgiving Day special, since after, obviously, we won't have another broadcast with you before Thursday. So wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving week and hope that everyone spends it with friends and family, being extra thankful. I think, we hear people all the time talk about if you want to immediately change how happy you are in life, walk around with an attitude of gratitude, they call it, or just general thankfulness in your heart. So Thanksgiving is a great opportunity to remember, just to stop and count our blessings and all the things that we are thankful for. Too many times we find ourselves focusing on what we don't have or what's not perfect. Well, this is the time of year where we stop and pause and focus on all that we do have. So 877-943-9673, we encourage you to do that. And when you're sitting around those Thanksgiving tables, a lot of times there's catching up with family on how life's been because you haven't seen them since Thanksgiving last year. We all have those family. And at the end of the day, it's a matter of when that conversation lulls, there's sort of that pause where no one has anything to talk about. And I always suggest that at some point, someone bring up the idea of estate planning. This goes back to a book I actually found at my alma mater, and it was over 100 years old when I found it. And it was an etiquette book on suggested dinner table conversations or dinner topic conversations. So at the end of the day, it was a book that was extremely antiquated, to say the least. Nevertheless, there was a section in there on will making, and it was suggesting that This is always an appropriate dinner topic conversation because it's a good idea to encourage family to make sure that they have their planning done. So we're going to encourage you to do that today. And if you're out there and you're making those Thanksgiving plans, maybe jot yourself a note to bring this up and encourage your family that hasn't done their estate planning anytime recently or ever, that maybe they need to do it. Maybe they've recently had new children and they need to get their plan in place to make sure that the minor children are cared for. We have someone like that in the studio, right, Peter?
Yes.
Right. So we know it's important when you have minor children. Otherwise, there's other major life events. Maybe someone has a medical issue and they need to address that in their estate plan. And we talk about it all the time, that estate planning, the biggest mistake we see, people do not do it, but a very close second is people do not update what they've done. And I think that's why it's important to maintain that optimization. You got to revisit that with your attorney. And if your attorney is no longer with us and you'd like to seek our advice on your matter, your estate planning, we'll be happy to give you a free consultation. And again, the office line, if you want to reach us during the week to schedule that complimentary consultation, and lots of you do, 877-754-6764. That is the office line. I will give it out later in the show, but to give it out here, 877-754-6764 for the early crowd. 877-754-6764. That's your toll-free line to call to schedule in Sun City Center, Sarasota, Clearwater, any of our office locations. You can call that one number Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and we will be happy to get you scheduled for your complimentary consultation. Our rates are still the same. Haven't changed the rates. The wills are still $75. Our trust package is still $695. That it covers everything. The trust, the pour-over wills, the power of attorneys, healthcare surrogates, living wills, and the deed for the homestead property, all included in that package. So you're sitting around the Thanksgiving table, and a great way to introduce estate planning is just by asking the family, how many of you want your estates to go through probate? And a lot of people don't understand what probate is. So I turned the interns loose on a deep dive into probate, and they each kind of took a different angle. But Nate, the intern, did an exceptional job, as always. And he basically laid out that there's essentially 3 tiers of probate. The simplest form, I'm going to do it in the simplest to most complex order. The simplest version is basically where you're dealing with only exempt assets. It's personal property of nature, and that's something called a disposition without administration. You can do this on your own directly at the courthouse, and you need, the estate planning documents, your driver's license, death certificate, a checkbook to write the filing fees, and basically you're walking out with everything complete for the disposition without administration. But that's a pretty low threshold considering it's only the issues regarding personal property or exempt items under the probate code. The next tier of probate would be what we call summary administration. Peter, the intern, you've been around probate long enough. What is the cutoff for a summary administration?
$75,000.
So you have to be less than $75,000 in order to seek the court's attention on a summary administration. Usually this is a one-shot deal. You will publish a notice to creditors, typically, unless it's been more than 2 years from the date of death, in which case the court will often entertain the petition without that publication. And what you will do is ask the court to enter an order transferring those assets that total less than $75,000 directly to the beneficiaries. And then what's the last tier of probate, Peter? Formal administration. So $75,000 or more would require a formal administration. This is the one that, on average, it depends county to county and state to state, but generally we say 6 to 14 months, and the fees and cost range somewhere in the 3 to 10% range. But that is a formal probate. That is where the assets are marshaled, reported on an inventory. There's something called a notice to creditors that's required in this particular case. There's a statement regarding creditors. There's a full and formal accounting. There's a lot of work that goes into a formal probate. All that is to say, when you introduce this topic at your Thanksgiving table, the great way to end it is saying that there's a way to avoid probate. And a lot of estates are often best served by utilizing what we call a simple trust. That's the package we just talked about a few moments ago for $695 that will allow your family to bypass probate for all of the assets in that trust. So there you go. Your primer, if you will, on estate planning, probate, and trust as a mechanism to avoid probate. to arm you for this year's Thanksgiving dinner table when there is a lull in the conversation. Maybe you have a question about probate or trust or avoiding probate. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. We're live and local. 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, and this is our Thanksgiving weekend special. So we encourage you to call in, ask your legal questions, and you can share with us something you're thankful for too, if you'd like. 877-943-9673, or shoot me an email, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. All right, let's go to one of our favorite regulars, Patricia from Lakewood Ranch. Patricia, how has life been?
Life has been good, thank you, Patrick. But I have another problem at my problem residence in Fort Lauderdale.
Uh-oh. So, Patricia, just so before we get to the new problem, can you give everyone a 30-second recap on sort of your lineage or would you rather me do it?
I'd rather you do it.
Okay, so Patricia, for those of you who are regulars to the show, you all know who Patricia from Lakewood Ranch is. Patricia from Lakewood Ranch called us numerous times, and it was sort of in real time, live on the air, unpacking of an issue regarding the misinstallation of a shower. Is that an accurate description, Patricia?
Very good, yes.
Yes. So short version is there. Ultimately, that resolved, I wouldn't say perfectly, but I think it resolved itself as best as we could hope for in that situation. That's fair?
Very fair.
Okay, so that's where we are with Patricia from Lakewood Ranch. Now we have part 2 of the Patricia from Lakewood Ranch saga. Patricia, the floor is yours.
Well, now it's a water problem. We are on the top floor, and for the last 3 years, we've had a little bit of water coming in when it was really bad rains. Well, the second time this year, there have been horrendous rains, like the one they had the other day where they got between 10 and 15 inches of rain in a very short time. Well, our 2 bedrooms, which are carpeted, the carpeting has to be pulled out because it was sopping wet. I mean, we've had times when it's been a little damp and we've been able to dry it out. And I have letters or emails going back to the management company for 4 years saying there's a problem. It needs to be looked into. Well, obviously, it's never been taken care of. And this time it was really serious. And the response I got back from the management company is the board is aware of it. Well, the board has been aware of it for 4 or 5 years, and nothing's been done. And I know that if the roof is not replaced, they may not renew our insurance on the building. And yet nothing is being done. Do I have to have you give me a condo attorney and get him to write a letter to get them moving, or what do I do?
Well, have you already written the demand letter yourself? I mean, going back to, sort of our prior history, did you write a letter directly to the association yourself yet?
No, I haven't. I am friends with one of the board. We've only got 3 board members, and I am friends with one of them. However, none of the board members have ever owned a home. They've always been in apartments. So I don't think they're aware of how to maintain property. But no, I have never written a letter to the board. So you think that's the way I should go again?
I think that's the starting point. I mean, anytime we're building a case, I always think about it as sort of building it for trial, although, 99% of the cases they say or something like that never go to trial. I think when you write that first letter and basically say, hey, here's the problem, I want to make you aware of it. I don't want to get my attorney involved. I'd rather resolve this amicably. Here's what I would suggest. Let me know your thoughts. Give them, 14 days, 7 days, 30 days, depending on the nature of the circumstances and how urgent it is. I always think that, if that winds up being part of the file and, a judge were to hear about that or see it entered as evidence, they're going to look at it and say, okay, this person tried to not waste my time. They tried to amicably resolve this before having to avail themselves of needing a judge to help them settle the matter. So I always think it makes you look a little bit better, in my opinion. So I would say, yeah, write that letter. And remember my advice, like last time, if you find yourself getting emotional writing the letter, write that emotional version of the letter, get it all out on paper. It's good. It's therapeutic. It's cathartic. and then burn that version and then go write a new one that's what I call the Joe Friday version. It is just the facts. And
Yes.
strip it down to just the bare minimum and then end it with that call to action. Here's what's happened. Here's what I want to be done. Here's what's going to make me happy. And believe it or not, and Patricia, remember, that was one of the issues we talked about. And that's one of the issues a lot of clients struggle with is we say, when you go to an attorney, you have to be able to tell them what you want to happen that's going to make you happy. What is the result you want to achieve? A lot of clients say, I don't know exactly. Well, the attorney can't manifest that part for you. So you have to spend some time saying, here's what I want. Now, this one sounds pretty simple. You want the leak to stop. So you say,
Well,
I want to know that there's a leak that's going to be fixed.
evidently, it wasn't just our apartment this time. It evidently traveled either through the wall or something. And 4 floors below us also had some water, but not as much as we had. So I'm hoping if I write this letter and if I can get the other owners to write letters, maybe we'll get some action.
I would. Yeah. Water's promiscuous. It just sort of goes everywhere. I mean, once it's inside, exactly. So I think at the end of the day, write that letter. And if you want me to look at it before you send it, I'm happy to do that for Patricia from Lakewood Ranch. And we will make sure it's the best letter. And then if, you don't get that result, yeah, we've got the attorney in the back pocket if you need them. But at the end of the day, this sounds like, and I'm guessing if it's affecting multiple unit owners there in the association, the board is either going to do something or they're not going to be the board for very long.
Well, the trouble is we can't get anybody to run for the board. I was on it for 15 years, but when I purchased in Florida, I thought it was time for me to get off. And then the board went down to 3 rather than 5. It's people don't want that responsibility anymore. It seems like I just want to enjoy where I'm at, and that's it.
Well, and Patricia, you know how we started the top of the show? We were talking about, instead of, it's hard to not recognize a leak in your condo, but the most thankless, one of the most thankless positions in the world is sitting on a board for a condo association or a homeowners association. So I tell you what, in the letter, when you write it to them, maybe just tell them first of all how thankful you are for them, and maybe that'll put them in a good mood to be more receptive, because it is a thankless job. And most association positions, like, they're volunteer, right? They're not getting paid anything for it, right?
Well, one of them for years was paid. And then when I got on the board, we stopped her getting paid. I mean, it was like, you don't pay a board member. Well, she resigned at that point.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. These are, mostly volunteer positions a lot of times. So
Right.
A little bit of appreciation goes a long way here. And I very much doubt that their game plan is to just sort of let this continue and go unaddressed. I think that, just a little bit of communication saying, hey, what is your game plan to fix this? This will help us feel better to know you're not just aware, but you have a plan of action to fix it and to, reimburse us for damages or something that you plan to do. So just knowing that there is a plan will go a long way. And I think give them the opportunity to communicate that and throw a little gratitude in the letter and see what they say.
Yeah, sounds like a good plan. Thank you, Patrick. You always give me a little peace of mind.
Well, Patricia, we're always here for you. And are you doing anything special for Thanksgiving?
Just with my daughter and other friends. I think we've got about 14 or 15 coming for dinner at her place.
Well, that's a good crew. You guys enjoy it, and have a happy Thanksgiving, Patricia.
And thank you, and the same to you and your family.
Thank you. Have a great day. Alrighty, this is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and that was one of our all-time greatest regulars, Patricia from Lakewood Ranch. I think that saga started. The original shower saga started right after the show began. So that we kind of grew up with the show with that saga. So Patricia from Lakewood Ranch, definitely one of our favorite regular callers. Thank you for calling in, Patricia. 877-943-9673. That's your toll-free number. You can give us a call now. Before we took Patricia from Lakewood Ranch's call, we were talking about Thanksgiving and dinner table conversations and how it's important to bring up being a good steward and making sure family members have planned their estate. And I'm not saying to be pushy about it. Don't be the guy at the Thanksgiving table that just outright blurts am I in your will? Don't be that guy, because there's probably no faster way to make sure you're not in the will than to be the guy that asks if you're in the will at the dinner table. So I'm just saying it's a matter of, maybe get your estate planning done. And then when you're at the dinner table, speak from, your first person perspective. I recently got my estate planning in order, feel so much better, have that peace of mind. Like Patricia from Lakewood Ranch was talking about, peace of mind goes a long way. So share that with the family. I felt so much better after I did it. And I want to encourage each and every one of you to get your estate planning done. Or if they've already done it and it hasn't been reviewed in 20, 30, or 50 years, just have them review it with their attorney. If they don't have an attorney, you can tell them you can suggest one if they would like one. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. That's your toll-free number to be part of today's show. Ryan, the call screener, standing by to get you live on the air with us if you have legal questions this morning. Again, 877-943-9673. So we talked about Thanksgiving, and this being our Thanksgiving episode, and we talked about the Thanksgiving dinner table and the conversation. And if there's one thing equally synonymous with Thanksgiving as the dinner that goes with Thanksgiving, what would the other thing be, Peter the intern?
Dallas Cowboys football.
Okay, not Dallas Cowboys football, but football. Football. And speaking of football, we have some legal news in football. The NCAA, according to the Washington Post, is denying James Madison their latest request for postseason eligibility. The postseason hopes of James Madison's undefeated football team took a major hit Wednesday when the NCAA denied the school's latest waiver request. Again, the Washington Post goes on to say, with just 2 games to go in the 10-0 Duke's regular season, the decision by college football's governing body closed off the most direct route to participation in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game and a shot at a prestigious New Year's 6 bowl game. Right now, my Gators may not even make a bowl game at all, let alone a New Year's 6 game. There's no hope of that. However, if JMU gets some help from a number of the other football subdivision teams in Harrisburg, Virginia, a school might still qualify for a lesser bowl game. Virginia Attorney General Jason, he's not an attorney and a general, folks. Virginia Attorney General Jason S. Miyares, who's a Republican attorney general up in the Commonwealth of Virginia, pledged per a spokesperson to consider all legal actions to support JMU community and the future of their student athletes. In a statement Wednesday provided to the Washington Post, a spokeswoman, Victoria Lasavita, called Miyares disappointed in the NCAA's refusal to grant JMU postseason eligibility despite its undefeated record and historic season. We had a similar situation with UCF when they went undefeated and sort of were denied access to the playoff. And I think that is an issue. And I think the real issue that it brings to light is how relevant is the NCAA nowadays? So I said to Peter, the intern, before the show, this was sort of on the fly. I said, what are some of the most recent sort of controversial decisions of the NCAA? And Peter, the intern, you had a short list of that, correct?
Yeah, so there was a couple of them in 2004 when Memphis went to the national championship for basketball. If they would have won that, then their title would have been stripped due to one of their players having someone else take the SAT when he originally failed to get a qualifying score. And then all of the stuff with Reggie Bush in recent times with all the billboards in LA saying, give Reggie Bush his Heisman back. And he actually recently filed a lawsuit in August attempting to get his Heisman Trophy back due to the new NIL rules, the name, image, and likeness. So NCAA players in all sports can get paid for their name, image, and likeness, and that includes coaching, signing autographs, making like appearances, social media deals, so with like a Nike or Gatorade, things like that. And that is actually what Reggie Bush was doing back in 2008, I believe. He was getting money from marketing teams, him and his parents, to do some of those similar things, and he actually he gave up his Heisman Trophy, but it would have been stripped if he would not have voluntarily given it up. 877-943-9673. That's your number if you have a legal question for us today or a comment on the NCAA and their NIL controversy. And I say NIL controversy because as soon as you said Reggie Bush, my immediate response to you was,
I wonder if Reggie Bush would have been guilty of anything under today's rules. And then immediately after that, you found that he's actually filed suit to get his Heisman back. So maybe what do you think out there, Attorney Patrick Smith Show Nation? Should Reggie Bush be given back his Heisman Trophy in light of the new NIL rules? I think a lot of people feel like that should happen. I don't think anything with regard to I mean, should there have been some sanction for violating the rule? Sure. Was he still the greatest college football player that year? Absolutely. So I don't know, maybe the punishment didn't meet the crime. Maybe you have an opinion on that. But I think it's one of those things where it's kind of indicating to me the NCAA's relevance to college sports is getting less and less prominent. They're more and more of a sort of figurehead that's sort of there for the extreme outliers. You know, if you really go out and you do something egregious, like have someone else take your SATs, let's agree that's all a violation. There's no change in the rule that's going to change that down the road where they say, you know, it's actually okay under these circumstances. That's never going to happen. But now we have these situations where college athletes can get paid for their, you said it was name, image, and likeness under the NIL rules. So maybe Reggie Bush, we'll have to, Peter, go ahead and make a note to track that lawsuit. We're gonna stay on top of that here at the Attorney Patrick Smith Show and keep you apprised of any development in that suit to get Reggie Bush's Heisman Trophy back. To be part of the show today, 877-943-9673. I'm Attorney Patrick Smith, local Central Florida attorney, and this is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, our Thanksgiving weekend special. If you would like to be part of the show, 877-943-9673. All right, let's go to Fort Myers. Let's talk to Brian. Brian, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hello.
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Pretty good. I've got a situation of probate that we were talking about earlier.
Go ahead, Brian.
I got a brother who's disabled. He's in a wheelchair, and we have a special needs trust. I'm the executor of the trust. My mom wants to avoid probate. My brother has a van, disabled people van, and he uses that as like a safety blanket. And he's mentioned many times he doesn't want to put that in the trust because he doesn't trust the lawyers or the actual trust itself.
Hold on, back up.
Why
wouldn't he trust lawyers? What's wrong with that?
I don't know. It's just a personal thing he has. He's never had a bad experience with them or anything. It's more about just having control. It's more about having control of the van where he makes sure it's in his control. And I'm trying to explain to him that there could be an issue with probate if it's not inside of the trust.
Well, I think what you mentioned at the top was probably the most relevant part when you said the disabled, enabled van is like a security blanket for your brother. He probably doesn't want to trust anyone with that. Let alone some attorney that he doesn't know or have any sort of relationship with.
Correct.
Yeah. So the issue is, should he put the van in the trust or not? Is that the question?
Well, I kind of know it should be in the trust, but with it not being in the trust, what kind of complications would that have when my mom passes away? And the van's in her name.
It's going to depend. I mean, if it is just a van, I think very likely one of those exemptions under 732-402, there's an exemption for automobiles in there. And how many total vehicles does your mother have?
She doesn't drive, so she doesn't have any vehicles. That's just in her name.
So technically, she only has the one vehicle, and it's the van for your disabled brother. Is that accurate?
Correct. That he drives only.
It's probably okay, Brian, but if you can get me a copy of mom's trust and will and the title to that van, I can tell you definitively whether or not everything's okay. But I have to put eyes on to make sure that all those documents are drafted properly. Okay.
Sure. And I like to add also that the price on your trust are half the cost of what I had to pay for this trust that I had for him. So that's nice to know.
Well, I appreciate your kind words there. And I hear that all the time. And we try to, because I do have that philosophy of believing everyone should have estate planning, I try to price it so that everyone can afford it. And I think that, most people who need a will can afford $75, or I hope they can. And the trust package, $695. Yeah, I know that's way more reasonable or more economical than a lot of other people, but it's a matter of providing the same quality of service, but at a more economical rate so that clients can basically get access affordably to planning that's going to help their family. So, Brian, I appreciate your kind words about that. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good day. Thank you.
You too. Happy Thanksgiving, Brian. All righty. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. Peter the intern, how many times a week do we hear someone commenting or complimenting our rates?
countless.
Yeah, it happens a lot. So we hear your appreciation, and we're happy to be able to do that for you. So I don't have any plans to change my rates in the foreseeable future. So those rates will stay the same. The trust package at $695 for our non-tax trust. For those of you who know what non-tax means, that means less than 12.9 million or the estate tax exemption. And that trust package covers the trust, the pour-over will, the power of attorney, the healthcare surrogate, the living will, the deed for the homestead, and the simple will, of course, still just $75. If you want to schedule your complimentary estate planning consultation with me, Attorney Patrick Smith, for the Sun City Center office, Sarasota office, or Clearwater office, any other law office locations, 877-754-6764. That toll-free office line, 877-754-6764. You can give us a call Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and you will more than likely be speaking to Peter, the intern. We're starting to have an outbreak of people coming into the office and they're asking every front desk reception at all the office locations, are you Peter the intern? Are you Peter the intern? So I think your popularity is beginning to grow as well. So you see that a lot when people walk in. Do they recognize you from the show?
Yeah, it's mostly on the phone. They're like, "Are you on the radio show on Saturdays?" I'm like, I am.
So yeah, Peter does actually work for me, folks. It's not just an act on Saturday mornings. He's there in the office during the week. So to reach us at the office, talk to Peter the intern. You can say hi to him and schedule your complimentary consultation, 877-754-6764. You can always email me as well, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. I'll spend a good bit after the show answering email questions that will come in. We are always happy to answer each and every one of your email questions. And again, you can always visit our website, submit a question directly through the website after you check us out. That's attorneypatricksmith.com. The other one that we're getting a lot of is the comment from clients. You don't look anything like I thought you would look based on how you sound on the radio. And so I usually ask them, I say, what did you think I was going to look like? And they said, I thought you're going to be much older and sort of an older guy. And I said, I'm sorry to disappoint you. And they said, I'm not disappointed. They said, I just thought you were an older guy based on how you sound. So I think that's a compliment, but I'm not really sure. 877-943-9673. That's your toll-free line to be part of today's show. 877-943-9673. All right, let's go to St. Pete. Let's talk to Benny. Benny, I appreciate so much you calling in because this is going to provide me such a perfect segue to our next segment after we hang up with you. So, Benny, how can we help you today?
I co-signed for a relative's vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
And the tag is actually in my name. You know, both of our names on the document, the bottom line. But then he failed to get insurance the way we agreed. And then I got a letter from Tallahassee. He got some kind of stop, a ticket. And they told me that if I don't get the insurance on the car, that my license would be revoked.
Yes. So have you retained counsel to represent you on that yet? Or have you secured the insurance?
Well, I have no, I attempted to, but, you know, I didn't get a call back. One guy told me that he would give me, if I give him $200, he would find the address, you know, find the guy, because I don't have a location where the guy's living at.
Okay. If you need help with a criminal defense attorney, which it sounds like you might want one to just peek over that paperwork, Benny, I'll be happy to put you in touch with some. Of course, Attorney Matt Kendall is a regular on our show, and he has a practice right up the road from you in Clearwater, and he'll be happy to give you an opinion on that as far as whether or not you need legal representation or whether it's a matter of just showing that proof of insurance and making all this go away.
Okay, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, so just listen. I'll give out the office number before we hang up, and then you can give me a call next week, and I'll put you in touch, and you guys can go on from there. But keep us posted on how it turns out, Benny. I'm kind of curious, okay?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day. All righty, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. That's your toll-free number to be part of today's show. And Benny called in with this question about, auto insurance and possibly having his license revoked. And I said it was a perfect segue, and it was, because Peter the intern's approach to our probate discussion was completely opposite of Nate the intern. Again, Nate the intern did sort of a perfect deep dive into the statutes, the rules, the levels of probate, sort of a very academic approach. Peter took a very practical approach and said, I'm going to go out there and find famous probates of famous people and sort of the interesting things they did. And the reason why I said Benny was a perfect segue, because one of the people on your list was, of course, Jack Benny, the legendary radio personality, who is actually one of my major influences. I love Jack Benny. I love his program. I still listen to the Jack Benny program on a regular basis. And Peter the Intern, why don't you tell the listeners sort of what Jack Benny did in his estate planning that was so unique?
So Jack Benny left a large sum of money to his local florist underneath one condition. That one condition was that they would give a flower to his wife every day.
Not just a flower. What kind of flower?
A rose.
That's right. A red rose.
A red rose to his wife every single day for the rest of her life, which equated out to about 3,200 roses.
3,200. And I will tell you this. When I started dating my now wife, Christy, and we've been married 20 years, early on in dating, I would give her a rose for every month that we were dating. And then I discovered quickly about month 4 or 5, this gets expensive very quickly. So I actually planted a rose garden in my parents' home in Winter Haven. And just to offset the cost of that, because it was cheaper to plant a rose garden and maintain it. My dad still maintains that rose garden to this day. By the way, can I tell you how popular Dad's interview was last week? The comments I've gotten from clients. So I don't even think Dad's aware yet. He's probably just now hearing about this, about how well that interview played and how popular it was with the listeners of the show. But Dad still maintains that rose garden to this day just to offset that expense. How much would 3,200 roses cost in today's dollars, Peter the Intern? Just look that up quickly, and then we'll move on to our next caller. But the idea of it, it's sort of wonderful. Mary Livingston was his wife, his on-air talent. Many of you remember the Jack Benny program, and Mary Livingston was on the show with him. That was his real life wife, and so he has these roses dropped off. But think about it from Mary's perspective. That's a reminder every morning that Jack's not there. That's got to be a little crippling. I wonder if Jack thought that through. I mean, it's a sweet thought, but waking up every day with a, hey, just remember, I'm not here today reminder. I mean, that has to sting a little bit every day, but it's sweet too. Sort of a bittersweet reminder. How much? What's the grand total for 3,200 roses?
So a single rose right now is going for just under $6. So for the 3,200 roses, it's about $16,500.
So here's what I found interesting too. When I was buying roses, you could buy a rose for whatever, like, say it was $3 for a rose. To get a dozen roses was like $50 or something like that. But if you wanted an odd number, like 9, somehow that was more expensive. Getting 9 roses was like $65. Someone has to explain that sort of floral math to me. Why a lesser number is more expensive. I don't know. So if you're a florist out there and you can explain that math, call in. I'd love to talk to you. All right. Next, we're going to go to Casey. Casey, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hey, Patrick, this is Casey. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure. Casey, it says you're calling from Rotunda. Where is Rotunda?
South of Tampa by an hour and a half, maybe.
Okay. All right. So how can we help?
In Florida?
Yeah. How can we help you, Casey?
Yeah. So my mom is 81 years old, and she's about to sell her home, and she'll probably net like $250,000. And she has I think she has an insurance policy worth another $100,000. She doesn't have a will. She doesn't have anything planned out. She wants to leave everything to myself and my 2 brothers. Don't know what the first step is, what she should do with it. She's going to close on her house in just a couple of weeks from now.
I think where is she moving? You said she's selling her home. Where is she going?
She's going to move in with me temporarily. She's going to split time with me and one of my other brothers.
And you guys are Florida residents, so she'll still be in the Sunshine State?
Her house is in Dallas, Texas. I live in Florida. She's moving in with me here. She's going to change her address to be a Florida resident.
Yeah. Then I think she needs to sit down with a Florida attorney and have a good estate planning consultation. If she's never done an estate plan, she just needs to sit down with one, have a full consultation, get their recommendations. If she already has an existing estate plan, she needs to bring those documents with so that the attorney can review it, see where she is and where she wants to be, and what it's going to take to connect those 2 dots.
Okay. So Florida attorney is where we start.
Yeah, I think so. Sounds like she's on her way to being a Florida resident, so I think it'd be most optimal for her to sit down with a licensed Florida estate planning attorney. Where do you live, Casey?
In Rotunda.
Okay, so
in Florida.
You said that's about an hour south of Tampa. So how close is that to like Sarasota, Sun City Center?
Less because Sarasota is just south of Tampa.
Yeah, so I have a Sun City Center office and a Sarasota or Lakewood Ranch location. So any of those would be available. If Mom wanted to meet with me, I'd be happy to meet with her and give her a free estate planning consultation, Casey.
Man, that would be fantastic. Thank you for the information. I'll hang up and grab your phone once you announce it on the air.
Yeah, I'll give it out here in just a second, Casey. Good luck with selling Mom's house and her really relocating from the Lone Star State to the Sunshine State. You guys have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too, my friend. Thank you.
You're welcome, Casey. All righty, 877-943-9673. It's just as easy as Casey made it look. Call in with your question. We give you the best advice and answer we can live on the air. That number, 877-943-9673. Casey hanging up does open up a phone line if you've been trying to get in. The phones have been quite busy this morning. 877-943-9673. The office line, as promised to Casey and the rest of you late listeners in the show. If you would like to reach us at the office during the week, that toll-free office line to schedule in Sun City Center, Sarasota, Clearwater, any of our other office locations, 877-754-6764. 877-754-6764. If you want to talk to us now, 877-943-9673. Next, we're going to Philip in Bradenton. Philip, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Thank you very much. So I'm a U.S. resident for tax purposes. I'm on a green card. I actually live in Lakewood Ranch and River Club area. And I'm 44. I just had a baby. She's a year and a half. And I started to think, it's time to, just in case, have a will and do this estate stuff. So, but because I'm cross-border, I have U.S. assets and some Canadian. My partner, she's a Canadian citizen. So we haven't established her status yet, but my daughter is American. So just taking the first step, what do you recommend? Is there anything special? Obviously, I'd love to sit down with your firm and go from there. But because of the situation with the cross-border, is there anything special to consider?
Yeah, I think what you consider is kind of both jurisdictions. I think you would have a consultation with an attorney here in the U.S. and Florida to reflect your Florida and U.S. assets. And I think you would also consult with Canadian counsel and sort of see how those two interact. A lot of times what we do is build plans that respect the other, so that if you have a plan in Canada under Canadian law, we recognize that plan here in the United States to avoid any confusion, so that the plan here in the U.S. for the U.S. assets is sort of hemmed in to just address United States assets. And then they basically reciprocate and do the same thing in Canada so that there's no confusion there. And at the end of the day, with regard to any of the tax consequences, we just need to put you in touch with a good accountant. If you have one, we can use the one you already have, Philip. If not, I can put you in touch with one who are quite familiar with the tax laws between the United States and Canada and can kind of optimally advise you on how to structure everything from a tax perspective in addition to the estate planning structure.
That's great. Okay. And then, so I'll definitely get in touch with your office this week. But lastly, as far as the like brokerage accounts and things of that nature, just do people, when they simply put people as the beneficiary, does that sometimes suffice, or do you typically need a full will and an estate plan?
I mean, I always recommend having a proper estate plan. The beneficiary designation might work. My concerns are if you're incapacitated for a prolonged period, those funds can potentially sit vulnerable because nothing pays to anyone until you're actually dead. So those could be vulnerable in that incapacity window. Number two, you said your baby's a year and a half old, an 18-month-old, you put them down as a beneficiary. It's going to be kind of hard for them to sign the paperwork. So I think that they're considering the minors involved, the incapacity issues. You may want to consider a little more advanced planning than just strictly beneficiary designation.
Got it. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Philip, look forward to working with you. Have a great Thanksgiving. How's the baby sleeping through the night now?
Perfection. But we did sleep training, paid $700, and they told us just let her cry it out. I'm like, well, I could have told you that, but this is what the missus wanted, so we did it. But
All right,
yeah,
so
it worked.
So Peter, the intern, has a 2-month-old, 2 months old right now, and his ears just perked up when you said sleep training, and I think you just saved him $700. Your advice was just let the baby sleep it out. Is that right?
That's all.
Or cry it out. Yeah. So yeah, I remember the first time our son slept through the night, and William, of course, now just recently turning 18, but I remember the sheer and utter terror and panic that I felt when I woke up the next morning and realized he hadn't woken up all night long. And I'm like, oh my gosh, something has happened to the baby. And I storm into the room. And of course, he's just there peaceably sleeping. But I'll never forget. And I tell people all the time, you really don't understand what worry or panic is until you have a child. And then you know what it is to worry. But Philip, congratulations on the 18-month-old. And again, you guys have a happy Thanksgiving, okay?
Thank you so much. Bye.
Yes, sir. All right, 877-943-9673. Let's quickly go to Clearwater. Let's talk to Carol. Carol, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hi, Patrick. I need you. I live in a condo. I'm going to give you a condensed version. I live in a condo, upstairs unit. Our condo
yes,
was
ma'am.
getting a new roof. When they went to put on the new roof, they just left it with the plywood and some black paper, and that's when the little hurricane came by.
Yes,
they did not tarp it. The rain came. The water poured through my condo in 6 different spots.
I'm sorry.
Did a lot of damage. Anyway, the roofer said, oh, gee, sorry, don't worry. We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. But the thing is, they never came. They never took care of it. They never took out the sheetrock. They never did anything except lip service. Finally, I had to call my insurance company because nothing was happening. Nothing was happening. So my insurance company stepped in, started ripping out the sheetrock, part of the walls, part of the floor. Things were moving. Finally, we're now done with mold remediation, and it is time to put back the sheetrock.
Okay.
My insurance company said, your condo association is responsible for that, which they are. Exterior walls through to the sheetrock is condo. Well, the condo said the roofers are responsible, and they said they would take care of it. Gee, you didn't make arrangements with them? I said, why would I even have thought of them? They're the ones who caused the problem.
Well, Carol, I'm gonna
I
cut you
am
off
at
because
the
I'm running out of
standstill.
time here with the show, and I'll just tell you this: the short answer to your question is, I need to see a copy of the service agreement or contract you signed with the the roofing company. I also need to see the insurance policy that you had, and it's sort of the answer may be somewhere between those 2 documents. And if something more advanced than that's required, I've got the attorneys that can help you with that. They have their own practices, and they practice in this area more regularly. I pretty much stick to just the wills and trust world, but I can look at the contracts and the insurance policies and sort of tell you where you are. So give that office line a call, Carol, and we'll get you squared away. Okay.
What's the number?
877-754-6764. That's the office line. 877-754-6764.
Thank you, Patrick.
You're welcome, Carol. Look forward to talking to you soon. Have a happy Thanksgiving, okay?
Bye.
All righty. Sandra in Winter Haven will be next. Sandra, I have about a minute. Can you do our question in about a minute, Sandra? Is Sandra there? Maybe we don't have Sandra anymore. Yumiko, is there an issue with Sandra? No, we're good. I got the give me a minute look. All right, Sandra, are you there?
Yes.
I can hear you now. Wonderful. Sandra, in my hometown of Winter Haven, I have less than a minute. Can you do it quickly?
Yes. These trusts that you buy like at different stores, the paper that you can buy at different stores, are they recognized as much as one that a lawyer does?
Recognized by whom?
The state.
I don't know.
Yep.
I would have to look at the document without seeing the instrument. It's hard for me to give a legal opinion. It is possible for you to do your own trust. It's not very common, Sandra. And a lot of times in these situations, you get what you pay for. So just be very, very careful. But I tell you what, if you want to try to do one of these do-it-yourself deals and you want just my opinion or for me to grade it, give me a call. We'll sit down with you. We'll take a look at the document and we'll give you our grade, okay?
Okay, darling. I appreciate it.
How's
so
Winter
much.
Haven today?
Oh, it's rainy.
All right. You know that's my hometown, right?
Yeah, I heard that just a while ago. This is my first time calling in.
Well, thank you for calling in, Sandra. We appreciate all you guys listening out in Winter Haven, and y'all take care of it and have a happy Thanksgiving, okay?
Honey, you too. You and your family.
God bless you. Bye-bye. All righty. Bruce, just hang on the line. I'll take you off the air because I'm running out of time here on the show. I want to make sure I give out all the information for everyone waiting on that office line again. 877-754-6764. 877-754-6764. Well, I'm thankful for everyone here at the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, everyone who helps us put on this show every week. And that is a lot of people, folks. It's not just the people you hear on the air, like myself and Peter, the intern, Yumiko, the producer, Joe Weaver, of course, the magician behind it all, and Ryan Hoppy, our newest member of the team, screening your calls. But everyone, I mean, you have Nate, the intern, my gorgeous wife, Christy, constantly supplying me with show prep ideas, and everyone else, tons of clients. So thank you to everyone out there. I'm thankful for you, the listeners of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. And just know this Thanksgiving season, I will take a moment to just be appreciative for all that you, the listeners of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, do for this show and supporting us. We get your words of encouragement. We appreciate it. And we hope that you take the time to stop and be thankful for all the many blessings in your life this week. So again, this is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. To reach me at the office, 877-754-6764. Everybody stay safe. God bless, and the happiest of Thanksgivings to you all. We'll see you next week.
The preceding was sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. W282CI Tampa, W271CY Lakeland, W262CP Bayonet Point.
Online at letstalkfaith.com or listen on TuneIn and Odyssey.
Need a good shot of your favorite pastor?